Hi, good evening. This is call to order and statement of compliance with the Open Meetings Act and JSA 10-4-8. As revised, this meeting has been advertised in accordance with the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act and is publicly accessible in accordance with law. Roll call, please.
Sure. Rocco Celentano,
Here.
David Sedadino, absent. Dr. George,
Here.
Sarah Menino, absent. Maria Nodwick,
Here.
absent. Oh, I'm sorry, Maria.
Okay.
Oh my God, that's so funny. I'm not used to that.
I know.
Because you're always there.
I know.
All right. I thought you were giving us a
Yes.
presentation.
Oh,
I'm
Maddie. I'm Maddie, nice to meet you too.
Well,
I
nice
realized
to
this
meet
was Maria.
I didn't either.
She's just a lady that randomly walked in.
All right, I am here. Zainab, absent. Gina,
Here.
Maddie,
Here.
Mayor Walker,
Here.
Frank.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, let's have a salute to the flag. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so on our agenda for the first item, we have the executive session. So can I have a motion to go into
Hold on.
executive session?
Do we need it?
I don't believe
Motion?
we need one.
We do not need it. Does anyone need any of the members? No? Okay, we will not have executive session. Let's move to the minutes. Approval of the regular meeting minutes of May 14th, 2025. Motion required.
I'll make the motion.
Second,
I'll second.
okay,
Hold on.
any,
No, she can't.
Maddie, you don't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You don't
I'm so
exist.
sorry. I can't.
I'll
All right.
second.
I'll
I'll
get
second.
You got a second?
I'll second.
need a second? I forgot, I apologize.
Okay,
Okay, any,
Okay.
Rule breaker.
any discussion on the minutes? Okay, we'll have a vote. Go ahead, Rob.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Rocco,
Yes.
George, Dr. George. Did she say yes?
Yes.
No, she didn't say anything.
I think she's mouthing.
Dr. George, do you approve the minutes?
Abstain.
Abstain.
Can't
We
hear
lost her
her.
volume.
I could hear her.
Maria?
I have to abstain, I wasn't here.
Okay, I am a yes. Gina,
Yes.
Mayor Walker,
I have to abstain too, I wasn't here.
Frank,
Yes.
thank you. 2, 3, 4 yeses, and then a lot of abstains. Okay.
Okay, next on the agenda is personnel. Do we have anything for personnel this evening?
Nothing outside of what was in the director's report.
Just, I thought we were running an employment for a van driver and I didn't get any resumes?
We have, and I
Oh,
put
okay.
that in, so, and that was part, in the director's report.
Okay.
That ad has been placed and our end date is further towards the end of the month
Because it's already off Prime Point, it's not up there anymore.
off of,
The Old Bridge website, when you go to the Old Bridge website, then you go to Prime Point, it's off.
okay, we'll look into that because we just put it on.
We don't put it on Prime Point.
It automatically goes on.
Oh,
It automatically, any job that's within the township goes on Prime Point.
Okay, because we sent it into the town, and it was supposed to be there for 2 weeks.
Yeah, so we had a start date and end date, and I didn't notice to see what, because I know someone that applied, and I said, oh, I said, they must have taken it off already, because that they got an abundance of resumes or.
We'll make sure,
Yeah.
but this time we are getting resumes with qualifications.
Okay.
So my main concern was that the person had driving experience, because we're unleashing them on Old Bridge. This is for the delivery route and all of those things, so, yeah, we're gonna have a good pool of candidates. And Linda and I will start going through this, but we'll make sure tomorrow that it's been, advertised. We went to Indeed this time to expand it beyond just
okay.
Old Bridge and the library.
Anything else on personnel? Okay, we're gonna move right on to finance. Action on June 11th, 2025 bill listing in the amount of $297,980.56. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Maria makes motion. Second? I will second that.
Rocco,
Yeah.
second.
Discussion? No discussion on the, at all?
Yeah, one question. Isn't they're buying the shirts for summer reading on there?
Are they?
Is the what for some reason?
The money for buying the shirts for the reading program.
I put into the director's report that the Friends of the Library were buying those shirts this year.
Okay, how many shirts do we buy?
We're not buying any, the
No.
Friends are funding it all.
Academics, how many do they buy?
I don't have that information with me.
Okay. So it's not on the bill, sorry.
Okay, so let's, if there's no any other discussion? Okay, we'll have a vote.
Rocco,
Yes.
Dr. George? No. Did she say no?
She said no.
Maria,
Yes.
I am a yes. Gina,
I'm a no.
Mayor Walker,
Can I vote on this? If I read this stuff?
Yes.
No.
Frank,
Yes.
Motion passed.
four, yes, four.
Okay, so for,
Four. Okay, 4-3.
so for Finance B, accept the 2024 audit proposal with Supplee, Clooney and Company LLC in the amount of $9,000. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Gina motion, Frank second.
Discussion?
Yeah, what was the rate the year before the current year we're in, do we know?
We do, I apologize, there was a slight increase from last year, and I'm afraid I don't have that with me right now.
Okay. All right,
Would it be, no, it wouldn't be in the disbursements. Won't be in that list.
I think it was around 85 or 87.
Yeah, it was a
and
slight
how long have
increase.
we had, quite a while, right?
Oh, yes.
Any other
Okay.
discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Rocco,
Yes.
Dr. George,
Yes.
Maria,
Yes.
I am a yes. Gina,
Yes.
Mayor Walker,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes,
okay, passes.
Okay, so now moving on to old business, CLC presentation, phase one furniture renovation. Selection from 3 proposed grades of finish in the amount of A, $213,332.11, B, $198,250.12, or C, $192,330.07.
I move.
Motion?
I move to table it.
We have a motion to table. Does anybody second?
I'll second.
Okay,
So we're not gonna discuss?
if it is tabled, then we will not discuss it. We will table it for next month.
Correct.
But you
So-
vote on it.
So you move straight to the roll call on the motion to table.
Okay, Rocco,
No.
Dr. George,
Yes,
Maria,
No.
I am a no. Gina,
No.
Mayor Walker,
This is the table one.
this is
Right.
today table
Old
making.
business A?
Hmm?
Old business, letter A.
Okay, yes, no.
Frank,
Yes, but I have, after it says I have a question.
That's it, motion
Yeah.
passes.
Motion to table fails.
Okay,
So you're back to discussion on the original.
alright, so discussion,
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, you need a motion on.
I need a motion to discuss.
I'll make the motion to discuss.
I'll second it.
Alright, discussion.
I have a question.
Sorry.
So, I was looking at the standard phase one and the high grade proposal. Do you know the difference in the longevity between, I guess most of the furniture, the desks and things like that?
The higher grades typically, so just so you're aware, because I think that this all started prior to your arrival, when we had different companies coming in and talking about these. So we asked about those grades then. Basically, the more expensive ones have a higher life on those. We're talking anything from the granite finish down to a simple like a Formica type finish on them.
Right,
So realistically, this is,
like 5-10 years,
yes,
something like that.
yes, and if I can, for buildings and grounds,
Please.
just to give, so we've been working on this for a year and a half. And we had three different companies come in and present to us what they would do. And the board said, not that it was a vote, but that it was good to move ahead with this company, that they liked them and their responsiveness. That the people from CLC came to 2 meetings and answered questions with us. And that's why this time I made sure that they gave us 3 different grades of finish. So you can see that realistically, we're moving around in a fairly finite range of spending with this. And I made sure that it was mailed to everyone in print so that there wasn't any problem in reading it.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And what we said at the Buildings and Grounds Committee was that people had ample opportunity to ask questions if they had them. So we weren't gonna have another presentation from the same company on the same matter, that we were going to put it to a vote. So I can tell you that they're very eager to answer any questions that we have and moving ahead. If the board chooses to move ahead, we can have meetings for people who are interested, updates to go over with what we're choosing, but basically, we're looking at the longest term finish. If you're talking about countertops, I actually question putting in something like a granite, because you can change over a less expensive countertop 3 times for the same price. So those are the types of details of design and that kind of thing that we can absolutely discuss. It's just basically whether or not we're moving ahead with the project.
Right, and deciding on which phase
Yes.
and which grade actually.
Yeah.
So we wanted, the standard grade is much cheaper. So I had another question. So the biggest difference between the high grade and then the mid grade is that solid surface circulation dust?
Yeah.
Okay.
So our circulation desk has probably taken the biggest beating out of any of our furniture. The veneer is coming off, the finishes have been wiped off, and we've got thousands of people a year, thousands and thousands of people going up to that desk. So that's where we do want to make sure that we're making an investment of materials that are going to last a long time. And that is the face of the library for a lot of people. So, yeah, I certainly understand if the board wants to go with something more like a granite. I may be a little conservative with lesser finishes, but if you do get a
But didn't he say that I thought he mentioned that the high grade one, I thought he said it was going to be quartz, not granite.
And I'm sorry,
Quartz, right? Yeah.
I'm stone.
Yeah.
Stone is stone
Yeah,
to me.
so
But
it
yeah,
was quartz, yeah.
Yeah.
Which actually is more durable than granite.
Right.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have said that.
and that was the discussion that
Yeah.
we had at that meeting.
I have a question. This, the highest price here, 213, any one of these 3 prices, is all of the comprehensive. We got about 7 different orders.
So
7
what's,
different quotes.
what,
Now, phase 1 covers what part of that?
so phase 1, this was when we were looking at the furniture and surface renovation for the library. Phase 1 has been the staff room, which is very much needed. The circulation, this includes the circulation offices as well as the circulation desk and that idea farm. That entire idea farm, that room out there that we're using, and we're really getting a lot of traffic. What I asked them, actually Sarah asked me to include in here was new furniture for the entrance. So that's included in here as well. So-
How many phases are there in totality?
5.
Okay, so are all 5 of these covered on here now, or we're only talking
No,
about
we've
phase
done
1?
this at previous meetings where I introduced this to the board. That phase 1 was circulation, idea farm, entryway, and staff entrance. Phase 2 is the computing area and the reference area. Phase 5 is the meeting room. And then phases 3 and 4 were the meeting rooms. The children's room was probably phase 4 or 5. Yeah, And then 3 was kind of the rest of the seating areas for us to see what we needed.
Do we have a time frame on each of those phases? Like if, let's say we go forward and we pick phase 1 today, and that takes, let's say, 18 months. The next phase would start when?
So this, it shouldn't take us more than 4 months.
Oh,
This is 6 to 8 weeks for the furniture to come in.
Okay,
And my thought was that this way the board would be able to see how we're working with this company, how we're moving forward, get used to the process. And, you know, if they don't like it, then we can do something different. But this was a way to put sort of one foot in the water and with this company and really see how we like it. The other thing is, I was trying to minimize the amount of disruption to service. Lots of libraries do those big fancy renovations and shut the library down for 3 or 4 months. And we don't wanna do that. We can, you know, if we do it in these pieces, my anticipation was that over 2 to 2.5 years, we would have the furniture renovation done. And then we'll create a schedule where we know that in, 2040, we're gonna have to look at this again, but the board will have a precedent for doing that.
Alright, getting back to my point, the documents that we saw listed all the items, 7 or 8 documents, different prices, and different price for each portion of the quote. I would only like to see that part of it voted on strictly, the money rather than the 213 now, the whole project.
I'm not sure I understand.
that's all she
That
said.
is
So
only-
we're
this is
voting,
only the first phase.
we're only voting on these 3 tonight.
Yeah.
So these 3, this is phase
These
1,
are the
these
only
are the
ones we're
3.
looking at this evening.
And we pick one of those for the first phase, it's not cumulative, it's not all 3.
They go anywhere from 192 to 213.
Yeah, those are.
So how many countertops are involved? Cause I know you said this gets heavy use. So if you went with the courts, that would be in all the places in phase 1, or could you do a mix and match?
And this is exactly it. We wanna be sure that what we're doing is setting the tone
So it's the same.
for the other
Okay.
phases.
All right.
And the reality is, circulation should probably be courts. I don't know that the reference desk or the digital support services has to be that.
Right.
So we can do something less in the others, but this needs to be our sturdiest desk.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And that is the face of the library too.
Yes.
We want people to
Exactly,
see,
yeah.
something nice, not.
Yeah, and the plastic is coming down. It's a good time to do that.
I mean, we are lucky to have a beautiful library. I get a lot of people, right, having love this library.
And Mayor, just so that you know, this also addresses some issues of ADA compliance, which we don't really have right now, so there are gonna be step downs.
Oh.
So that people can pull right up to that if we have someone in a wheelchair and get that service.
Yes.
We can improve some of that.
Okay.
I'm using it in my
That's the
apartment,
213.
and I'm gonna tell you something, if it lasts in an apartment complex, it will last anywhere.
With the courts?
That's, yeah,
It's the new
it's-
thing now.
and it's the most durable,
It
believe it or
is,
not.
it
I-
is more
I've
durable
got-
than
I'm
granite.
using white in my apartment complex, white quartz,
Yeah,
and,
I heard it's good.
and it's so durable.
It doesn't burn, like no
Quartz doesn't burn,
It's better than granite.
Wow.
better than granite.
Mhm.
I believe me when I tell you, I was hesitant on doing, we were even putting white cabinets in some of our apartment complexes.
So here's my question. How do we go about voting on this, since it's 3 different choices?
You would make a motion to amend Rosemary's motion to adopt section 8AA. That outline.
I'm so
Yes,
glad
I'm
you write
sorry.
that down, Linda.
I
Linda, you
didn't,
got that, huh?
And what we would do is pragmatically, that'll
Okay,
be what we say. Linda will circle the one that we go with.
okay,
So you want to revise to move forward with the 213, 33211?
I would like to move forward with the 213, 3, yes.
Does anyone care
I would
to-
like to move with section 8AA.
Does anyone care to second Mr. Solentano's?
Well, I would, no, I have a question.
Well, let's get a second before we have
Okay,
discussion on it.
I'll second it, and then you can have.
Okay, right.
This original library with the current furniture that you have was opened in 1991. So it's here 34 years, and that was wood primarily.
Yeah.
I noticed that. So keep that in mind. 192 will probably get us the next 45 or 50 years, and we'll all be dead. No, maybe not.
That's a spirit.
Frank, so glad you're here today.
The countertops are not wood. Those are ladders,
Yeah. I'm gonna go with the quartz, I'm definitely with
I'm
that.
definitely.
But that's what the finishes.
The courts will see us all.
Yeah, I go with the quartz.
And I mean, you know, the reality is that some of the finishes that we have aren't the highest, and I do know libraries where their desk was without a blemish for 50 years.
Yeah.
So there's that possibility as well.
But see, here's how I look at it. We used to have library, it's like, I don't think it's put in yours, we didn't have libraries in school anymore, that's how old my kids are.
Right.
So now this is the library for all the schools. So granted, it may have been 40 years ago, it didn't have the traffic that it has now.
And stuff was made better back then. People, stuff is not made as well
That is
today.
true, that is true. Like cabinets now that we get, they're
No more
veneer.
dovetails.
They're veneer, they're not even real
Oh,
wood.
yeah.
Nailed together.
Yeah.
That's true. And the population's increased.
Absolutely, in this library, immensely.
Just in the town alone,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
come out of the woodwork
Yep.
into the courts.
So we made the motion, we've had discussion, any more discussion?
Yes.
I'll leave it at that.
Do you want to move this?
No.
No? Dr. George, do you want to have more discussion on what we're talking about on the plans to refurbish the library?
Yeah, I think you need to look at the tape of this meeting and you will realize that I don't know what you're saying. You're all talking at once, you're speaking to each other, and nobody's looking up at the camera. So I'll just be quiet and you just go on with what you're doing.
So we're gonna have roll call vote on the 213 option A for the new furniture. That's where we are currently, Dr. George.
All right, the only question I had was at the last meeting, we suggested that we have a separate meeting to discuss all of this. That never happened, that I know of. The Buildings and Grounds group got plans, Dawn said. I don't know who the committees are because since February, we have not gotten a list of who's on what committee. So I don't know who the Buildings and Grounds people are who reviewed this. So, you know, people must know more than I do about what we're talking about, and that's my fault, so we won't worry about it. The presentations, the one presentation that was made by two companies was made by 5 of us. The next presentation that was made by the one company was made by 5 people, but they were different people than the first 5. So I don't know who's looked at all these plans. I thought that's what the Buildings and Grounds Committee was going to do and make some recommendations to us. So I have no idea.
Do you want to address?
Yeah.
So I can address it as the chair too. but
Oh,
go ahead.
please, go ahead.
You got, no, go ahead.
Dr.
I'll
George,
defer to you.
the Buildings and Grounds Committee met on June 4th
Who
to
are-
go through.
who
And
are-
Who are they, Sharon?
I don't
Oh,
know who the
sorry.
committee is.
It is Gina Talamo, it is Rocco Salentano, and it is Rosemary Rivoli.
Could we have a list of committees? Am I the only one that doesn't have the list of committees? But
I've offered to assist, but you did remind me that those lists don't come from me. So,
well, this whole meeting is not your problem. It's really Sarah's, but it just the whole committee situation, particularly for something that's this size, is to make it easier for the full board to make a vote because a lot of the previous questions will have been answered. But I don't know. Whoever has met about it, discussed it, go ahead and vote, and it's fine.
So Rocco, do you want to speak on behalf of the committee?
Yeah, on behalf of the committee, this has been a year and a half in the making. I believe it was about a year and a half ago when these plans were first introduced. We have talked about the phases. This particular phase right now was discussed in Buildings and Grounds several times at several of our meetings, even before Gina came on board. And then I believe we sent these all out to every single board member, so everyone has had a chance over this long period of time to look at this. We delivered, I believe that as a board, we have deliberated over this for a very long time, and I feel I think we have given out every information, we have brought the companies in. We have sent out all of the plans, we have discussed this several times. I don't see, what else I can do to provide more information than all the information we already have.
And is the recommendation of the committee? Is
Rock, I
consensus
think
for
that
A?
Yes,
Okay,
that your review of what has happened may not be totally accurate, but I don't want to fight with you now.
well, it's
I
accurate.
really don't care. All I'm saying is we're voting on something, we're spending how many thousands of dollars? I don't know what we're talking about. We haven't, and you say we brought in this company, we brought in that company. I'm telling you, when you brought the company in, there were 5 of us who met with the first one and a different 5 met with the second one. That's not the whole board. But it's okay, that's all done over. Just go on with what it is. As far as
Dr. George, this is Gina, can I ask you a question? I understand where you're getting at, that maybe there was only partial people at one of the meetings and partial people at another meeting. But that happens almost on every single committee that I'm on in this township. Not everybody can be at every meeting, but that's the idea of this, of the sense of sending everything out. It's it's what the grounds and buildings and grounds discussed, and then that information then got mailed out to everyone, so that if it was 5 people in February and then a different 5 people in March, what we brought together at the meetings, whether we were all here at the same time, got mailed to everyone for review. So I guess my question is, I understand that maybe we all can't meet at the exact same time, but we did have the opportunity to review this for at least 30 days. And buildings and grounds, I know of 2 meetings that I have been present for, and I know that one of them I wasn't, but we did do our due diligence on going over stuff, and then we mailed everything out so that the rest of the board that couldn't make any of these meetings could review this. So I don't want you to feel that this is a rush to judgment, because this has been going on way before I got onto this board.
well, as far as how long you've been on the board, I think you've been, and I'm sorry, are you Gina? This kind of meeting is difficult because you not only can't hear, but you can't see people. But at any rate, we have had some meetings, we need to function as a whole board. And when you say everybody can't make every meeting, well, I thought that when we said we were going to serve on this board, the one thing we did commit to was 1 meeting a month to meet as a group. But I think that's a whole different issue. You're talking about voting on this now, and go ahead and do it. I mean, with whatever you have. As far as the committees, I will still say to you that maybe everybody else knows who's on what committee. I have no idea. I've asked since February for a list of committees, and I have not received it. So,
Not to interrupt you, but did we not have a meeting and we decided who was gonna be on committees at one of these
No.
board meetings, and it should have been in the minutes?
we don't decide
no,
that.
that's just done by the president. Committee assignments are presidential privilege, but
Well,
Sarah did
didn't we do it
circulate it to
via-
everyone.
Yeah, via
I
email.
think we should
It was
ask
done
them
by
to-
email, I
I think we
believe.
did it all by email, and I think
believe so.
everybody was included in the emails. I mean.
These are all side discussions, and all I think it points out is we have confusion.
Somebody in the civilian part of it wants to attend the meeting, they know what's happening.
We could do that,
So
we
could
could.
somebody in the building residence say why you picked this, just quickly, like why you chose?
Yeah, I can tell, I'm voting for A because I feel the longevity of the courts versus the laminates, even though they're high-grade laminates, with the hardwood and everything, I think the longevity of the courts will hold up better than, I mean, you can get lifetime warranties, which is what I have on my courts, in my buildings. And so to me, there's not an option with the other 2. If we're gonna do this, and we can then maybe step down as we go into further phases, this is the entrance to our library, this is, you want the biggest bang for your buck, and to me, A is the one to go.
And I believe it was in April, correct me if I'm wrong, when we had that meeting and
Yes.
looked at and said, and we decided as a committee to send these 3 proposals to the board to let them look at, and again, this was almost 2 months of time in between to look at the material and have any questions. And now we're here at this point, and we're ready to vote. So, and again, I think the Building and Grounds Committee as a whole, I think the three of us all agree that option A is the best in terms of longevity. And again, to kind of modernize the way our library looks.
I think courts would be the best for the front area. I mean, like Gina said, moving on, maybe in other areas it wouldn't be necessary, but I
Right.
think in the front it would,
Yes.
I think.
So I think
We have the motion.
we have the
and a
motions,
second.
can we make the vote? So let's do a roll call on 8AA.
Revised, right? It's a revised?
It's Rocco's revised motion, seconded by Gina for 8AA, which is 213, 332, 11.
Thank you, sir.
3:13:11. Rocco.
Yes.
Dr. George,
No,
Maria,
Yes.
I am a yes. Gina,
Yes,
Mayor Walker,
Yes.
Frank.
No to A.
Okay, thank you. Passes.
Okay, moving on to new business. Do we have any new business? No.
We do. So we have a matter that's not an emergency, but it is urgent. Our PA system failed in a 50,000 square foot building, not having a public announcement system in case there's an emergency. Is a problem. If we had a lockdown, if we had any kind of an issue where we had to evacuate the building quickly. So you may recall that our PA system was repaired a couple of years ago. So the PA system ours is analog. So all of our speakers around the building are not digital, they're analog. I'm not interested or asking that we go through and rewire the whole building at this point. I did call in the same repair person who replaced the amplifier last time. He said that the system was done, we needed a new one, and he said he was gonna give us, basically, I have two contractors who were supposed to give us proposals 2 weeks ago, and they haven't. I have one contractor from
yeah,
Pennsylvania,
that's Kit, I got it right here.
yes, Kit Communications, and
Yeah, see, yeah.
I thought their proposal was pretty detailed and thorough, showing that they're replacing the equipment, making sure that all of it works together. And I understand that we have enough money, we're not coming near the budget even with an emergency repair, but it's still over $5,000. So I thought that the board would prefer to vote on that.
So I took a look at it. The only thing I didn't see, is there any type of warranty that they're offering?
So the warranty, I don't see, and I apologize, I'm pulling through all my things.
You do get you get a 3-year
Yes,
Carina light on the software.
yes.
You're getting a 3-year on the software.
On the software.
A 3-year, and they explained it to me, it's a 3-year end-to-end support for them. So it includes them, any problems that we have, them coming in to troubleshoot and diagnose the issue.
And then I mean, it doesn't seem like a long time.
What, 3 years? You know what, I'll tell you something, you know what happens, unfortunately, because of technology,
Yeah.
3 years is probably,
I've been
in
looking
3
for
years,
the
and now
new-
something else is gonna come out.
And the other problem is that if you really wanted a deep fix, you go digital, which is probably about this much in equipment, and you're gonna be rewiring the entire building. This building's big and all of those cables have to be drawn through.
I upgraded 3 cameras at my New Amsterdam building and had to rewire, and it was $4,000 for 3 cameras and rewire.
Yeah.
And I didn't upgrade diddly squat. That was it, 3 cameras and some water.
And when was the last time it was upgraded?
The last time was the amplifier, so there's a couple of pieces, there's the brains of the equipment, then there's an amplifier, and then there's our speaker system. Speaker system is fine, amplifier, we're pretty sure is not the culprit. We've had 3 technicians look at it in addition to our IT person and our custodian and myself. But we already knew that the brains of it was already going because it had to be reset every 2 days. So as far as a lifespan on this, I'd be hoping for 5 years.
How did you find the company in Pennsylvania? I mean, I would assume there's all kinds of companies in this state.
I would have thought that there would have been more working on PA systems than there are. So that's why I called in PC Visions, I called in Joe Corman, because he had worked on it before, but there really aren't a lot that work on PA systems. So I went through our wireless entry person, he referred me to somebody, that person came in, said, I don't do this. He referred me to somebody else, supposed to get another estimate, and I haven't gotten it. So my problem is that I've been working on this for a couple of weeks, and this is where we're at. But Kit has been very responsive,
What condition is the system in now? Is it usable currently?
not at all.
You should have a quote from Coleman right tomorrow, just for whatever it's worth.
I saw him 2 weeks ago and I'm looking at this and I mean,
So why do you say that we should have a?
I called him,
okay,
only because I knew that he knew the system, so I wanted to, you know.
So then can we vote on this subject to Corman to see what he comes in at? Because I mean, obviously we need to have this fixed. This can't be something that we can't.
so there's, I mean, when you say vote to it.
Because
know
to
what that
me, I mean,
means.
let's say Corman doesn't come in tomorrow, at least you have a vote on this so we can move forward.
And I saw him almost 2 weeks ago and he said I would have it and I don't.
Right.
So this company's been responsive with what they told me they would give me, and that to me is important. So I understand, are we asking, I mean, obviously the board does what it wants to do, but are we saying that if I don't hear from him, this is approved? But then if
That's just that's the way I would like to proceed. My only thing is that in
that's-
order to do our due diligence, we really should have more than one bid.
And I also-
You need to vote up or down on something that is being presented to you. So you could delay it, but you can't delay it.
I personally don't think that we should wait because
Yeah.
it's safety issues. We were doing an event here with cultural arts and a child got lost and we had to lock down.
That's true.
It's the scariest thing. So that can happen right now, that can happen tomorrow. I don't think it's something that you should wait on. I think it's something that should be definitely taken
When you
care
spoke
of.
to Corman, did you say what his delay was, why we need to get the quote?
No, I was calling him to find out more about the technical side of it. And the other thing that he mentioned, I don't know if it's accurate, he thought should be no more than $2,000.
Oh.
So
It's a big difference.
now I would
And what's this
suggest,
for? 52?
Yeah, and the other thing is, did he tell you what his remedy was?
he'd be wasting it if he told me, so I wouldn't have a comprehension.
Right, the only reason I'm asking is because what we currently have is a company called Bogan is the one that created this system. About a year ago, that company stopped dealing as with all technicians. They only deal with technicians that are specifically trained for the Bogan system now. So I'm just letting you all know that even this solution, Kit reached out to Bogan because they can work with Bogan, but it's a separate item. And then Bogan, they had to go somewhere else and find something else. So whatever the board decides to do, I understand. If you want to delay it, that's something that we can do. If you want to have a special meeting to revisit it, that's another thing that we can do. But given the expertise from this vendor, I have confidence, as much confidence as time will allow me to have it this time.
Did he say how long before you can come and to install it or fix it or?
They, from what they told me, they would be out here ASAP, they just need the equipment, and what they did was because the Bogan piece is so expensive and so exclusive, they found another system that would come in that would be less expensive. And like I said, this does have the 3-year support and warranty piece on it. I can go back to them and ask them for, you know, something else if everyone would prefer. My thing honestly is to make sure that I've covered bases for safety.
Can you borrow something from Parks and Rec or Public Works, a portable PA just for
A
temporary?
megaphone?
Just, no, they have those, we have programs over there.
Cool.
You know,
It's a big,
I'm just thinking, if the board wanted to wait to get another estimate, it's just something for an emergency. cause we use them over there
Temporarily.
temporarily, I'm just saying, it's just an idea.
And I'm genuinely curious, would they have an extra?
I think they have one at the senior center, cause we
Senior
only
Center and
use
Parks
it,
and Rec,
yeah,
we have one.
we have
We just
one.
got a new one.
Yeah. I think it's something Mac could probably hook up tomorrow, I mean, I wouldn't wanna see, even wait for it, like, I'm sure if we put a call to Matt, they could come over.
Alright, so what?
I mean,
so-
just saying for
so
an
let's-
emergency,
So,
at
and
least
we
it's
can't, we
something.
can't do a
Something,
vote
it's better
via
than nothing.
email, right?
No.
No, it has to be a special meeting.
Okay.
Correct.
Special meeting, or if you can get something in here temporarily, you could wait until July.
Well, then-
Whatever,
but
whatever
then-
the logistics of it
I
are.
would
if
just
you
say
have
maybe you
something
can
to
get
consider.
more.
Well, this
more
is, this
interested in
quote's
more
only good for
quotes.
30 days, so take that into
Yeah.
consideration, and the other
Yeah.
thing that I'm curious about is that when, as I read this, it's, the bones is here, they're not changing the bones of this is just to upgrade,
That's
just
exactly
to
it.
bring it to some sort of,
And it's because it's an analog system.
Yeah.
There are plenty of other systems that are digital, but it's because this one is analog, that it's more complicated to find the guts to
yeah,
go
so
with.
my,
People
so my
aren't dealing in
concern, yes,
analog.
but my concern is
Fair
anyone
enough.
that's gonna give us a
Right,
warranty is
exactly.
not really gonna give you a warranty, because if all they're doing is upgrading some of it. So they're not gonna warranty the analog system that we have in place now. So we have to take that into consideration, so I'm curious what the $2,000 was for.
Yeah.
I don't know how somebody can do it for $2,000, I don't know what he was doing for $2,000.
In the future, you're probably gonna have to consider digital because the parts are gonna be impossible to get.
Not only that, yeah,
So how much money do you wanna invest in the analog?
Yeah, exactly, that's what I'm saying.
You know,
Do you
you
wanna
might be
get like
throwing
two
bad money.
quotes? 2 quotes for digital and 1 for.
Maybe we should.
I
do
always
that.
And
Just to
I'm
compare.
just saying also, I spent a lot of time finding these companies.
Believe it or not, the company I use is from Pennsylvania.
But I'm saying they're not that easy to find, they're
Yeah,
not that
yeah.
easy to contact, they're not that
That's
easy to
traditional
get out
like that.
there. And I'm not trying to be whining, but the number of projects that we have, I mean, literally, I have the lights. Trying to get people in to
Yeah, but
redesign our lights.
I gave you
We
some.
give you electricians.
Well, yeah, but those electricians can take care of anything, they're commercial grade,
And they can take care of rewiring, if I'm correct.
and they can give you the lights. They can do it all.
Okay,
I wouldn't give you anybody that I don't.
okay, understood, I'll reach out
Yeah.
to them too, because I would,
That is definitely not in my.
Yeah.
I'm only building and grounds for the library,
yeah,
and I'm
You know,
social, do you have an ELA or social studies question? No problem. But if you're gonna ask me about how we keep the lights on, you're asking the
The
wrong
contractors that
guy.
I gave you would supply you the lights and do the wiring.
okay. And that was, cause I was looking at it, I was getting a little overwhelmed because I'm not asking someone to rewire what's there, I'm asking them to select new fixtures.
Yes, no, they do.
And we are very thorough here.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be a process in and of itself.
Yeah, they're
To
both,
get through all of those.
they've both done
meetings.
big projects, MBH does a majority of commercial now. He only does our properties because his father-in-law is shareholder. He's a big company.
Yeah,
And he does a lot of work up North Jersey, and he's done libraries and stuff like that.
and I was gonna get a name from CLC too,
Yeah.
cause they have subcontractors. All right, and my only point was that we have a lot of bids and estimates going out, so all I'm trying to say is I realize going back and finding another solution is warranted at times. The amount of time that it takes is significant, that's all.
With the
So you would
company
move
that
to
you,
motion
that
today
is
to
giving
make
you
a
the
vote?
quote,
I'm sorry.
now, that's giving you the quote for an analog system. So I assume they understand what you're covering and all of that already, basically. So the question is, if you were to go to them tomorrow and say, no, I want you to upgrade this to digital,
Yes.
that should not be a big deal.
No, it wouldn't, and it would be a significantly higher cost, and I will tell you that I think part of the reason why they're willing to spend more time with us on this is because eventually we need to look at our cameras in the distance. So part of this is a company that's interested in building a relationship so that they're gonna be able to bid on those things later. We currently have 3 cameras out, and I'm not even, we're not even getting to that yet because what we have has been working.
Right, but I'm saying something, if you're analog, you're not getting those cameras replaced.
I know.
At all.
I think
And-
it needs to start moving to digital.
And then there's
have no
something
choice.
about cameras from China, do you know this?
I put my order in for my cameras,
It's a
6 months ago,
50%
and they only
quarantine
got
on it.
repaired about 2 months ago, it took that long to get them.
There'll be a 50% tariff increase in place.
Well, I placed my order, but I mean, it
I mean,
didn't.
I would, as far as the PA system, I think you guys have to decide, do you wanna go digital, stay analog, how much money do you want on the Band-Aid to fix it?
Yeah.
Well, the only thing that I would like to do is with this company, because they did respond back to us quickly, is that I would say to them, you know, is there any chance of saving anything that we have for digital? Because if we're gonna be spending $5,000, I mean, you're probably looking at probably $30,000-$40,000
Yeah,
to do this, easily to do
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
I mean, down the road, that's something probably, cause eventually there's gonna be no analog.
You have no choice.
Yeah.
Well, I could call Matt right now and ask him to bring it up here for tomorrow.
I mean, just,
I won't
cause
be here
even
tomorrow.
if this company comes, you
It's gonna
wanna
take a
have it
while.
still,
Still need it,
yeah,
right,
you
it's
still
gonna take a
need
while.
it,
We're gonna
regardless of
something,
what
yeah.
you decide
Okay.
tonight, yeah,
I'll
that,
text him when I.
Perfect.
and that's, like I
I
said,
don't think it'll be a problem.
No.
whether
I
we
feel
wanna.
better,
Yeah, I don't think we have anything going in there, and if we do, we'll
Yeah.
just swap out between.
yeah,
Silver
and it works pretty well, I
And
mean,
one
for an
can-
emergency,
And it's okay if Dawn shoots us an email if by close of business tomorrow, which would be 5 o'clock, if you don't get that estimate tomorrow.
I
You
can
know what I'm saying?
certainly,
Yeah.
I can certainly
Just
send
shoot
it
out
out.
an email and say
But-
didn't get it,
So we're saying we're gonna push it off until July to
because we're gonna
see.
get a temporary one.
Are you gonna see
So,
how well?
you
the
wanna call Matt
temporary
now,
system-
just
Yeah,
temporary?
just wanna make sure that it's not needed for events and things like that.
Well, there's two of them.
No, there's
We
two.
have-
There's
And
one
in the
in
summer, we
Silver
really
Lake.
don't have.
My question
July.
is, you know, there are events where we've got 300, 400 people in here.
See what he said?
Am I gonna be able to hear that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yes, cause it is, we use it
Yeah.
outside,
We use
we
it
use it for the
outside.
5K.
We use it for, yeah.
Okay.
We've used it for a lot of things in the courtyard.
Yeah.
That's what
And
I,
then here,
it's gonna get a megaphone.
quite honestly, the way the ceiling is gonna. the
I'm just saying, if
acoustics
you
in
want,
here
if
are
that's
gonna
what you
be
wanna
very-
do, it's just an emergency
Yeah.
solution.
Okay, do you want me to call him, just text him?
Just text them and see if he
He
can
answers
get
right
some.
away.
So then with that, you wanna just administratively withdraw this action item and we'll have more options to discuss in July?
Yes, and I just wanna be, yeah, so I wanna be clear. If I don't hear from the other person by 5 o'clock tomorrow, I'm still searching for more solutions.
No, I would
Okay.
say if you don't hear by this gentleman by
Right.
tomorrow by 5 o'clock, the only option that we have is to go back to this company just to say to them, hey, by the way, we would like you to also give us a digital option.
Okay, understood.
You know, this, well, like you said, you're building a business with him, you know, maybe he'll come down a little bit on this price.
Can you have an emergency meeting in
Sure we can.
between if you
We
want
have-
it?
Yeah.
You know, and this way you could
I
just
don't
vote
see
on
that.
that, just have that.
If we had to
on
do
it.
it on Zoom.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
right, we
I
don't
mean,
have to
saying
do it on
even if we use this temporary for a week or something,
Exactly.
just, cause you wanna
Right.
make the right choice.
Yep.
All right, that's all for new business.
Okay,
No, it's not.
Okay, wait.
Uh,
what do you got, Frank?
We have $4.5 million in trust money, Maria? What is it
It's in
called?
the money market
Okay.
account.
Now, for those of you who are older than Aldridge, last year, the school tax went up 9.08, I think it was $9.08 million, which is the most significant increase we've had. I was on the board since 1993. I think that's the largest increase, single increase we've had. This year, potentially, it's gonna be twice that when they settle it, or maybe almost 3 times. So we clearly have more money in excess there. And when the library was decided to be built over in Lawrence Harbor, it was $7.5 million. The library donated $1.5 million for that function. So I just want to make it clear that I think we should leave a minimum of ourselves at $1.5 million, which would be more than any other project that we would need. And just make sure that money is available, because that way we can give some tax relief
Available to whom?
taxpayers in this town.
So returning the library's money.
It is not the library's money.
It is the library's money. The state says that it's the library's money.
Yeah, well, read the state law, you'll see that.
I'm well aware of what it is.
Then we'll find out.
Yeah, And if you do, you'll do it without me.
Well,
That's
has to
your
be, that
choice.
has to be.
That's your choice.
Yeah.
That's unethical,
It's
entirely
not
against
being
what,
unethical.
it is unethical. It very clearly states with the state that trustees are not to underspend in order to save money for the community. That's what it
We
says.
didn't underspend, we earned it through
You
the past.
underspend
passport program.
intentionally.
Not so, you're absolutely wrong.
I would rather have some legal clarification on all of this before we do move forward.
Yeah.
I mean, you have options with your bank account. You've got a lot of money there.
Right.
You have a capital plan now. You have money earmarked for specific plans to protect the money.
Do we have a
So
capital
it
plan?
is,
You put it together a couple of years ago.
No, I didn't. I wasn't here.
no, the
There has to
capital.
be a capital.
It has
the
to be
long range-
voted on.
The facilities plan that you have in place,
Oh, sorry,
Yes.
that one. Sorry, I'm
Yes.
thinking strategic plan,
No,
because
not
that's a
strategic.
critical part of spending as well.
No, but you have the capital earmarks so that this money is protected.
Yeah.
Should the board choose to relinquish the money that is in fact yours, these are your accounts. You have the authority to do that, but it would require a majority of the board. And you can only spend money once. So if you were to relinquish that money, it is gone.
So so what you're saying is that, so if, what Frank is saying is if we gave the taxpayers a break of $1.5 million, let's say, that's it, it's done, you can't, there's no coming back from that.
There's no coming back. That is rainy day account money and future project money and the South Old Bridge discussions and all of that, it would just be gone.
And
And
what the-
I
what
mean,
the
there's
state
always
law-
something going on at the library, something's always breaking, I mean, there's always emergencies.
And we have plans to
Yes,
do other things.
yes.
And I would just, when last year, when I spoke with the state librarian, sorry, when I first got here, and I mentioned in a very positive way that the board had committed the 1.5 million to the possibility of a facility. At that time, the state librarian said to me, they can't do that. So the legality, absolutely. Whether or not I will commit myself, and I'm not making threats, I think everyone knows how dedicated I am. I will not bury my entire career on this. Won't happen.
The state law currently says that if you have any funds that are within 20%,
In your annual, not in your capital.
let the lawyers figure it out.
No, the 20% rule
Yeah.
is for your operating budget.
Okay,
Correct.
So if it's more than 20% of the actual expenditures from the previous calendar year, that money is subject to various versions of the word forfeiture. The money that is in your capital reserves that is earmarked is not at risk like that. The
But it
only
has to
people
be
who
committed.
can put that money at risk are you. And that is a very surprising and unusual thing for a library to do, because it is your money, it is your funds, it is your rainy day money, and it is your project money. But that's a question for the Board of Trustees, just like Don just said, if that's what you as an entity want to do, have that discussion.
well, let me just ask you a question, Frank. If we were to go with your thought process, what kind of a tax break do we as residents get for $1.5 million? I'm gonna say not a lot,
Pennies,
okay?
perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious, because what happens if we do have an issue? What happens if we do have an issue here in the library?
Right.
And then we have to go to the taxpayers to get that money, that's gonna be,
Or the taxpayers built this library.
and I'm not saying that.
Yeah, but
but
the library is the benefit of the taxpayer, right? So we want the library to be functioning, you know, the best that it can. If we're not gonna have money to fix something or to replace something in an emergency, then that's a problem and that's gonna affect the tax.
I mean, didn't we talk about, Dawn, did we not talk about the heating system and the air conditioning not that long ago here?
We have the lighting, we
Yeah,
have,
but Frank.
we have plenty of projects. The capital plan should be updated this year, but the camera system, all of those things. I can understand if the library had been taken care of in the way that it should in the last decade. I could understand if in a community of 70,000 people, we had the number of branches that other communities have to serve it. I could understand if we had been grossly understaffed, which we're working on rectifying. There is no other library in this state that is this size that doesn't have an assistant director, that doesn't have a facility manager, so that's gross deliberate underspending. So I do think that you'll meet up.
I think in
With
most of those,
resistance.
most of those libraries that you are referring to have a lot more activity.
I entirely disagree.
Let's say that
You
we're
can't
talking-
hobble the library and then say that there
I'm
aren't enough
talking about
people
a
coming
theory,
through the
I'm talking
door.
about a fact. Those
You-
other- East Brunswick, for one, they get $1 million a year extra from the council every year.
Yeah,
Yeah, and they do 3 or 4 times the circulation.
they didn't
we do.
have one adult services librarian for a community of 70,000 people
Oh, here
for
we go,
years
we got it again.
intentionally. That's what you did. And now you want to tell me that there weren't anybody coming through the door because we were doing our best? They just weren't
So,
coming?
Let me see if I got this
What
right.
are we talking?
$1.5 million, and if we decided as a group to offset the tax hurt that's coming from the school board's issues. 9 million last year, maybe 18 million this year, and maybe another 10 next year. So anyone here who is on senior citizens on a fixed income, that's gonna be a major hit to their lifestyle to live here in this town. And leaving you with $2.5 million in the capital fund, I don't think.
Is the
issue.
library taken care of? And are projects being approved rather than being delayed for 1.5 years before being done? Because if they are, it's a very different scenario than what we're in now.
$213,000 project at a $4.5 million. That's delaying of it.
But that's only the first phase, right?
Right,
That's only the first phase, and that's gonna,
And-
and
It's
the
really
thing,
hard for me to
something.
sit here right now.
and I think we only take a deep breath here for a second. I think we need to look at the reality of the situation is a couple of things. Frank, I understand it's a very noble thought of you, but let's look at the reality of this. That is not going to create any kind of major tax relief that would make that much of a difference. Secondly, we do have this building that we need to take care of. And if you just simply look into that yard right there, there's a project right there. You walk around these halls, and I know you do. You see lighting, we see things that are going back to the 90s. This should be a crown jewel for our town. And we need to start rebuilding this place. And as Dr. George has always said, right about South Old Bridge, we have other plans that we want to do. And I think that money would be better served here in our libraries and taking care of our libraries than sending back these small pennies that are not going to make a difference for these individuals. As tough as the situation is, it's not going to make that much of a difference. So I think we need to look at what is best for the community. And honestly, I think keeping the money here and creating the best library and library system in the town is the best way we can serve this town.
Well, I think basically we need to go back to what we have in the capital fund and put out the next project for the next 3 or 4 years and estimate the money and dedicate it. That's fine.
I'm
And
all,
see if there's-
I believe a
if
majority,
rules,
if I were to ask everyone here, I think a majority of us would feel that way, right?
Do we have a 5-year plan? Like most,
Long
We
range
do.
planning.
we
We,
do,
we have a capital plan. We don't currently have any plans that we should have with regard to like a strategic plan.
Right.
There's a draft that wasn't approved, and that's also conditional with the state, with being able to withdraw money from the library, is having a functional strategic plan in place to make sure that the library is being taken care of. So we don't have a marketing plan right now. I have a technology plan. We've really done that within 2 years. We've upgraded our technology infrastructure. So that's something that everyone's gotten done. But there's a considerable amount of planning that does need to get done. And in buildings and grounds, I do think that going over that capital plan would be our next meeting.
okay, how far would you say we're away from the strategic plan?
So this strategic plan was done prior to my arrival. I think it was done, Maria, do you remember?
It was
Michael
before we
Bobish? Yeah.
Yeah.
So he did a draft of a strategic plan, so there's not been a community survey recently. The things that you typically have go into a strategic plan. What I would suggest is that this strategic plan can be reviewed and approved as a temporary measure. But again, this is also something that the state funding is going to be in question without a strategic plan again.
And I know we have talked about creating a strategic plan committee, but our president has been out for the last couple of months because of certain things. So we have not been able to actually get that ball rolling, but I know I was the first one. I know there's a bunch of people who have shown interest on this board. I think that's what we need to do next.
Yeah, that's a type priority, then, to
Yeah.
move forward with that, because then at least we would know if the money that we have, and I understand what you're saying, but if you don't have certain things, you don't get it, because on the Shade Tree Commission, if we don't have certain things, we don't get our Tree City, we don't get grants, we don't get a lot of things.
Right.
If we don't do it, so it's important to keep certain aspects of our plan that we had put forth years ago, and we haven't, and we lost stuff because of it.
And I'd just like to say something, I'm a little confused, because we meet here for the best interest of this establishment, not for anything else. So the money that's here and is slated for here should remain here. And to even want to think about bringing it someplace else is a little upsetting to me and concerning, to be honest with you. You've been on this board for a very long time. And why you would wanna just throw it away, because from the things
First of
I've
all,
seen and from the minutes I've
You're saying throwing
seen.
it away, I don't consider
Well,
that.
not throwing it
I consider
away,
that
but you're throwing it out of this
providing
building.
relief to taxpayers in this town who fund this library from day one, who built it. And now that they're hurting because of problems at the school board, while there's an excess of this money, I think $4.5 million is an excess.
Not really, because we do have all these projects. And
Right,
Frank, with all
when
due
you add
respect,
up a
I looked at
number-
the minutes from the meetings before I came on this board, everything was tabled. Table this project, table that, table this, table that. So what she's saying in essence is true.
But I'd like-
Things
I'd
were
like you to-
tabled and not done.
I'd like you
So
to send
now,
me-
if you go outside and you look, everything's falling apart. So if we're not replacing and starting from scratch, we are putting Band-Aids on things, and that just costs more money down the road. So now if you take this money to give relief, which again is going to be pennies, to the taxpayers, what happens to this building that we made a dedication to be here to represent? The mayor appoints us to this board for the best interest of this building, not for anything else.
Put together a capital list for the next 5 years and see how much money you have to keep. That's all.
Or
Check with
keep
me.
it all, and if there's any to give.
Rocco, can we go
You-
back to having a meeting? Because if our meeting is over, I wanna leave. We're sitting here having a discussion and fighting, talking about the history and the people who know the history of Old Bridge. Nobody asked them anything, can we just put this to bed and finish?
Do we have like things that need to be done? Do we have a list of all the
Yes,
things?
that's coming up in the building ground.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so we're gonna move on.
I
Let's
think
move
you
on.
have to keep your stuff in good shape or else you have
Agreed.
to.
Agreed. All right, so we're gonna move on to the director's report.
Director's report, coming up, next month, I just wanna get people ready, cause I think our board likes a heads up on things. Bookmobile proposal, we will be looking at, one of our initiatives is gonna be to increase the saturation of library cards within Old Bridge, that's our primary concern in getting that done. So we have a van is not a bookmobile. A bookmobile is you would drive up to the senior center, people could get on board, look for
Yeah.
books and that kind of thing. But I want all of the research done, all the proposal done, and that's what our offsite services, the bridge services manager, Lauren Pernagan, she's doing a great job and I'm excited, so that's coming. Statistics, as I've said, we're working on the statistics to, I don't think that the board realizes you haven't been given really accurate numbers and we're getting them. So I just discovered about 5,000 ebooks a month that we're circulating that haven't been included in our reports, and that's a regular number. So those are coming. I had spoken to everyone before about changing our HVAC preventive maintenance contractor. Now, the board hasn't voted on this in the past, I don't think, Maria?
Yeah, they have.
Okay, so we currently have HG Clark at 10,600. I looked at the town's contractor so that we could be on the same system, but theirs is unfortunately about twice that. Edison Heating and Cooling came in under 9,000. Unitemp came in at 10,305. So if you voted on it in the past, then the board's probably gonna wanna see these proposals, so it goes to next month. What I'm hoping is one of our other big projects that we have isn't just the HVAC maintenance, but what is it called? We were just talking about it, air balancing.
Yes,
Where your thermostats are all reading the right number,
right.
but because there's two
Yes.
blowers in my office, so I have all of those and I will prepare those and do a summary for you for next month. Lastly, sorry, some of you heard one more thing. With the garden, we have Harry Brennan, I'm very grateful to him. Rutgers Master Gardener, he is assisting us to get our garden cleared, leveled, paved, and in a condition so that it can be easily maintained, and we can invite the scouts and volunteer groups in to come in and have projects, but not try to take this on. So that's coming. Can I start buildings and grounds?
Yeah,
Or
we
do you
might as
wanna-
well just flow right into buildings and grounds committee report since it's the first one.
I don't have the whole report, but I have responses. So Buildings and Grounds had asked me about doing a full cleaning of the building, a deep cleaning, every surface sanitized. We currently subcontract our cleaning and they can't get to everything all the time. So this is a deep clean for the building. They asked me if it was under the director's discretion to go ahead, and I'm just bringing it up. It's $1,600. We're gonna get that done. There's a couple of other things. The high dusting has never been, or it hasn't been done here in a long time. And other building projects like that, but I'm gonna go ahead with that 1,600 and get the deep cleaning done. The last thing that I have, we had budgeted 30,000 for advertising and publicity. We've spent almost none of that. So we started doing the newsletters, the print newsletters have been very popular. So those are about 6,000 a year for the number that we're doing. What I have done is gone through a number of, not marketing companies, I don't think we need to mount a rebranding until we're further along and a little more in tune. What I would like to do is, it's $2,500 with a gentleman named Ben Bizzle from Library Marketing. And he's gonna create an editorial style guide for us so that all of our publications are visually in sync. I think you may be aware that with websites and our other materials, by April of 2026, they have to be ADA compliant so that they're easier to read. So that style guide is gonna help us with fonts and textures and colors. So that's 2,500. The other thing that they suggested was, I don't wanna hire a graphic designer, I don't think we need a full-time marketing person, but that they charge $150 an hour for their guidance or graphic design, that kind of thing, and that we have a starter pack. I could do 12 hours with them at 150 or 24 hours for the year, and then we start to build a relationship with them and see what they want to do. So those are two different options. I went to Bibliocommons, I spoke with people from the conference that I went to in Washington DC, and the recommendation from both of them was that we start with this company and this person specific to libraries, and like I said, it was the creation of a style guide and then putting 24 hours on hold for us to see how we do with that before we make a big commitment to a targeted outreach to the public. So again, those aren't votes because that budget is 30,000 and we haven't spent it. But I just wanted people to know where we're headed. Were there any questions on anything that we're working on? Sorry. So
Okay, yeah,
that-
so
yeah.
we're gonna move into committee reports and buildings and grounds. Buildings and grounds did have a meeting, last week. I was in attendance with, Ro, and we basically sat down and went through all of the projects
Sorry.
that are pressing and basically prioritize them. Dawn has a copy of all that. I don't know if you really wanna like go through them all. Do you wanna explain them all to
I can
us?
quickly.
Just quickly?
So just so you know, this is the priority projects list and where we're at, so I do updates on that so that the Buildings and Grounds Committee can go through. So the lighting renovation, the Buildings and Grounds Committee had decided, rather than rewiring 30-year-old fixtures, that we wanted to go ahead and just replace the fixtures.
So then we did.
Yes,
And the LED lights, obviously, one of the things in our discussion was, we're rewiring and bringing these LED lights and the lifespan of that.
The cost
at no age
up
matters.
front is more, but they last forever.
And the electric bill.
And your electric bill.
Precisely, yeah.
And not only
Better
that,
lighting.
there is a company, they're called Benchmark. And they're going around to properties, buildings, and PSC&G or JCP&L is going to mandate large buildings to start bringing things up to code with LED and stuff like that, so that it doesn't,
Right.
affect the grid. We got the notice already that we have to start doing that, because my buildings are built in 1965, and so we have been replacing everything with LED, but it's going to be mandatory.
And what needs to be replaced is really the perimeter of the building, because the ones over the books are already okay, so
There's
they're-
2 sections over the stacks, those are fine, it's the bays in between where you see the lights out and the office areas.
How long did they say it would take to do all that?
They haven't said yet,
Yeah.
and then,
I gave her 2 contractors.
Right, we're looking at contractors still.
Yeah.
I would imagine our next meeting, we might have some.
Well, maybe you should get the light fixed, you put the new furniture, because you don't wanna see it.
Well, that is very true.
and,
True.
and Mayor, this is one question for you, when I first got here, I don't mean to be disrespectful, Mr. Shaw was the business administrator, and he allowed us to use the town's QPA so that we could get a larger project done without going out to bid. So our bid threshold is 17.5, and with the QPA, it's 44,000. So just to consider, I don't even know if the lighting project would come in under 44, but we'll certainly see, but just a question for the future when we have building
Yeah,
based
we raised it a
projects.
few years ago, because it got to it wasn't really reasonable,
Yeah.
the amount. Yeah.
Garden renovation, we've discussed. Furniture renovation, we've discussed. The deep cleaning, we discussed that. Blinds and shades renovation, so all of our vertical blinds, obviously our building is majority glass on the exterior. All of those blinds are breaking and falling down. The weights on them, I have a collection of them in my office. If you look at the meeting room, there were motorized shades on every window that's there. Those no longer work. So all of that is another big project that has to get done, and we would look to put up the opaque.
I knew what you were trying to say
Yeah.
when you did that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a film that
Right.
goes up rather than having the
Yeah.
blinds, because we don't open them, and when I do have someone come in to clean the glass, they can't get through these, they're breaking if they try to open them, so that's a thing. The emergency equipment upgrade, I understand that we went to the exit signs being tritium, but they don't glow. It's just a concern for me, we'll see what Buildings and Grounds thinks. I personally prefer that they have lights in them that say exit, I
I
think.
thought by
They have
fire
to.
code, they
They
have
have
to.
to by
The
code.
tritium's supposed to glow and they don't.
Well, by fire
By
code, they
fire
have
code,
to.
they're supposed to have
I had my fire
No one
marshal
said
license.
Well, let me ask you a question, does this
How
building
did
get,
they get away with that?
does the fire department come in here and do a periodical like they do everywhere else?
Yes.
They would have to.
Well, that should be
Well,
cited,
what we have is our alarms and our fire extinguishers.
but they don't
But
check
they
the exit
check
one?
exits for
They
sure.
check, they have to.
I guess they must, I
They
haven't
have
seen
to.
it.
They have to.
Tommy Miller, this is
This
his
is
territory,
Tommy's, yeah.
Tommy Miller.
Yeah.
I'm
We
surprised
can-
Tommy didn't catch that.
We can check in. One thing that everyone noticed when the gentlemen were here, because we had a fire drill the first year and I had public everybody out in the parking lot. Our Blair horns, they sound like sick ducks. And it's very strange, it doesn't sound like an alarm. So it's not an emergency, we do have a sound, and if we have our PA system, but it is something we want to address. Then we also have the camera system upgrade, which will be a bigger deal. We're maybe about 6 or 7 times a year the police are here looking, but that's also with some of our cameras being out, our parking lot cameras out, so it is good to have. And then the bathroom, you all know that the bathroom renovation.
Yep.
So where we're at right now, there's something called ESCNJ, and that's the Educational
Services Commission.
Services Commission, thank you, which I didn't know about and know that we were a part of, but every part of Old Bridge is part of this. They also have an aquatics facility
I know, I Googled it.
in Parlin.
They're quite an agency.
Okay,
That's where the Sayreville High School swim team works at.
okay. So, we've gone through, the board already approved the architect has gone through, and they've said that once they've finalized everything, they are going to present it to ESCNJ, and ESCNJ is a co-op for purchasing. So we will then have an estimate that comes to the board for the price of that suite of bathrooms, not the other suite yet, we would only do one at a time. And the board will have the option of selecting that ESCNJ quote or going out to bid. So that's there. And Dr. George, we did clean up with the attorney, clear up that we can spend municipal funds on the capital expenditure for the building. That was cleared up in a.
Yes, Rocco asked me about that, and you can channel money that direction.
So, and those are the projects that we have for the moment. Carpet is good. We're okay with some of the other things. You can see that we have some sidewalks and things crumbling, but the town is very much on that, and engineering has everything on their list, so that's not within our scope.
Alright. Okay, Finance Committee, anything to report?
No, because I don't know who's on the finance committee.
Okay, well, that's.
She told you, she never told me who was on it. If I don't even know if I'm on it.
I told you how many times.
Did someone
Maybe
else,
next month.
Dr. George, did you ask about the finance committee?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I didn't hear you.
Had you asked about the finance committee?
What committee?
About being, I'm asking if you asked to be on it.
I didn't ask to be on it. I said I would volunteer to be on it if they needed a third person. That was
Okay.
last year. And I leave that open. You know, I still will do it if I never heard anything.
Personnel negotiations, anything to report?
No.
Policy? No, nothing to report, I know that. Technology? Frank?
I just wanna let you know that all of the computers that we purchased are being rolled out, and we are close to having every computer in the building being no more at this moment than 3 years old. And typically, we're gonna go through no more than 5, and the public have been commenting on that because they were concerned about the public computers, and we responded because we got that great pricing. So we did that.
So we can open the floor now for public comments. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak at this time? Only one person, so. Going once. Going twice. Okay,
Just a side note, the other day I ran out of color ink at home. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go to the library. So I looked up on the website, you have that recommendation for the print app.
Yeah.
So I uploaded it and I could not believe I was printing from my phone.
Yeah.
I thought that was
Yeah.
like such a, I'm like, wow, that's great. I mean, these little things that you offer the community, it's unbelievable.
So one of the things, just to let everybody know also, if you look at your statistics, and what the staff are doing, I'm always so impressed, but the number of faxes that we now have, free faxing for the community. The printing, 11 VHS transitions where people came in and digitized their things, and we're not even really up and running with the Idea Farm yet. I wanted to also just share with everybody, I was very proud. Our Library of Things, which you all know we've been working on for a long time. Pam put up a post, we got 111 likes, 13 shares, 14 comments, and it was just, we have the best library, this is a great idea, you know, thank you for doing this. We're getting there.
It's unbelievable. There was like 10 people, like we're all like making copies. I was like, wow, you know, people are involved.
And Mayor Walker, I can tell you that Old Bridge used to lead the library community at one time, and that's what we're striving to get back to again.
Yeah, I hope so. I love the library, it's great. I like to read, but unfortunately, I don't get time to read things I like anymore.
There's Audible books.
Yeah.
Okay, any
I can
last
play board
comments?
games.
Any last comments by everybody before we adjourn?
Let them eat cake.
Okay.
I do wanna thank you for all your time that you give for free, though, I really want to.
Absolutely.
You
Appreciate
can
it.
face it.
Whoa.
Because we need volunteers.
All right, everyone,
All right,
thank you.
thank you, everyone.
Thank
That was
you.
it. We will see you next month.